We're back for another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. I am John Schmelk. We welcome back to the Giants family, wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah, it's good to see you, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm excited to be back.
So I know you've told the story before. Maybe some of the fans listening and watching haven't heard it. Mm-hmm. How did this go down for you last week? Take us through the play-by-play.
Yeah, so it was Wednesday. I just got done with practice with the Steelers. I was in my receiver meeting, heard my phone kind of vibrating and buzzing, and I just did a quick peek to see who it was, and it was my agent, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, you know? So I didn't really know what to expect, but obviously I couldn't answer or do anything. And then after, I saw that he had texted me, and he was like, hey, between me and you, I think the Giants are going to bring you over to the active. And I was like, oh, like, you know, that Dana's crazy. And I called him just to kind of realign of everything. And then he was like, yeah, they should be in contact with you soon. I started getting the phone calls, and, you know, they talked to me and they were like, hey, like, we're going to try to get you out on a flight tonight, but there was no flights at night. And then, so I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. to make sure I caught like my 5-something flight, you know, like in the morning, hop straight over, like pack my bags real quick, and then got straight rolling to practice on Thursday. And they kind of let me know like, oh yeah, you're going to play. So I was trying to prep myself to play, but I was thinking it was kind of going to be like 20 to 30 plays maybe. And then
guess not.
Yeah, the longer the week went on, it started being like, okay, I'm kind of in a lot of personnels and stuff, and it ended up being whatever, almost 60 plays. So yeah, that was kind of crazy.
What was the emotions like from you knowing that it was the Giants, right? Because you're here for a while, you played a very prominent role, and then your last year you didn't play quite a prominent role, and I'm sure that was frustrating for you. You didn't come back, you tried somewhere else, it didn't work out, and then you came back. What was kind of like that emotional roller coaster with you reuniting? Yeah,
I honestly was excited. You know, I always wanted to come back, but, you know, it kind of had to work out business-wise and roster-wise and everything. But like I said before, like, I love it here. You know, I think of this place as my home. My family does too. My wife loves it. My son's in love with New York City and football and loves going to the games. So, you know, we were all super excited for it. So how quickly did you feel like, all right, I know this playbook, I'm back, this is normal, or was it very different from what you had last seen when you were here? Yeah, it was definitely different from when I last seen. There was obviously some stuff that overlaid that was like, okay, I remember this formation or this call, but, you know, this is obviously my third offense being a part of this year. So I feel like I put so much effort in the offseason trying to unforget this offense because, you know, when I was in San Francisco, it was like, oh, like there's some of the same words that overlap, but they mean different things. So I had to like try to forget the old and put in the new. Then I went to Pittsburgh, and it was like a whole new thing, and now I'm coming back here, and I was like, okay, I still remember some stuff, but then there was some different stuff that, you know, I had to like try my best to memorize, but the coaches and players did a real good job of kind of helping me out and everyone, you know, rallying around me.
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you gotta go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know.
But Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
Now, fans could tell he's right off the field, a little out of breath because he was doing a bunch of extra routes and throwing with the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't the quarterback that was here when you left. So, whole new set of quarterbacks that you get used to catching from. So, what was that process like? And it's kind of still continuing, right?
Yeah. It was kind of really different, obviously. Just knowing how different quarterbacks, you know, put the zip on the ball. And as we were talking about earlier, you know, Jameis, he's a very like timing quarterback, rhythm quarterback, and like he has some zip behind every throw. So it was, you know, kind of adjusting to that and, you know, being ready for that and getting those extra reps in. And obviously, you know, got to throw a little bit with Dirt too. And he's like a great quarterback, and he's mobile, and he's able to extend plays and do that. So, you know, I've been able to see a little bit of both. So it's been fun out there.
What has it been like working with Jackson this week as he tries to return from his concussion? And did you go back and watch some of his stuff to kind of have a feel for him and how he plays?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching him really all year. You know, I'm always tuned into the Giants game and stuff. So I've been able to see just how he can extend the play, like how he can sit here and be looking at one read, get back to his last read, or, you know, make some crazy like out of the pocket plays. I think his pocket presence is awesome. So it's really, you know, fun for a receiver because you can be on a whole different route and then it's a scramble drill and now you're running a go ball or a different comeback or something like that, and, you know, he's extending that play. So it's an awesome opportunity for receivers, I think.
You talk about scramble rules, but are they really rules, or is there a feel to it? Like, how specific are the rules?
It's kind of both, you know, like there's definitely like some I guess you could say standard rules that like every team would be like, hey, the quarterback rolls this way, this person does this or that, whatever. But at the end of the day, as you said, like it's kind of a feel too, and you got to base it off of, oh, the corner was here, or I didn't feel anybody over here. So it's a mixture of both.
So when you talk about the offense being different, having to relearn it, was it just a matter of you re-clicking the right language, or were a lot of the different types of plays and schematics different because of the changes to quarterbacks? Mm-hmm. Dave's before, now Mike Kafka, they're very focused on trying to specify the offense of the quarterback. Yeah. Is that where you think a lot of the differences came in?
There definitely was some differences there. There was also some differences for the words, obviously. And like when I was here, we called certain concepts or whatever something different. So kind of trying to memorize that of being in the game and hearing this word and understanding, okay, it now means something different. That's another hump that I had to get over. But, I'm continuing to do that. And again, it's all credit to the coaches and the players for helping me out during that.
When you look back and how did game day go? Were you happy the fact that you've had to play so many snaps right away, and you were obviously very productive?
Yeah, it was a blessing, man. I was so just excited to be out there. To think that I was literally not playing any snaps to go in to play almost 60 snaps. I was so thankful to be out there and have that fun and be able to make some catches and make a impact on the game. And I'm hoping to do it again. Obviously,
you're very familiar with Mike Kafka. He was your OC when you were here. You get back and you're kind of in the middle of a lot of change here, right? Mm-hmm. When you show up. And Mike Kafka's first game as head coach, what was it like kind of being him in the big chair for the first time?
I liked it, and I liked it when he was the OC. Obviously, when I was here, I think he has a good feel for the game, for the offense, knowing, how to put certain players in certain positions to succeed. I obviously have good chemistry with him, and I respect him a lot as a man and as a coach. So I think he does a good job of bringing energy, staying on top of the details, and holding people accountable. So, I really like that out of him.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
How about Tim Kelly? What was it like working with him as OC?
He's awesome, man. He's smart. Like, I've always thought that of him, even when he wasn't the OC, obviously. But, when he gets up in those meetings and he's detailing certain stuff, he could be talking about something random, like some screens or some blocking stuff, but like he's so detailed and has a lot of like logic behind what he's talking about. So it's always interesting, like learning from those coaches.
Two things I want to ask you about as a receiver. Giants use a lot more 12 personnel now than when you left. Mm-hmm. How does that change things for you if you're one of 2 wide receivers instead of 1 3 wide receivers, which you guys were mostly in 11 when you were here?
Yeah. I mean, just understanding what the offense is trying to do and how we can sit there and do that. So, if they're in 12 personnel and there might be certain packages where, we're more run dominant. There might be certain packages where we're more pass dominant, and just understanding what the offense is asking of me, and trying to do a good job of helping the offense out in any way, shape, or form.
Do you also notice that the quarterbacks seem to have a little bit more time to throw now than maybe when you were here previously?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in 12 personnel, I think you see that just across the league. I was able to be part of some offenses like San Francisco and Pittsburgh where they do a lot of 12 personnel, and it's a lot of moving the quarterback around and different rollout stuff, different play action stuff. So, it's interesting to see just how every offense kind of handles it a little bit differently. But, it's definitely fun seeing the different route concepts and seeing how, the offensive coordinators kind of scheme stuff up.
It helps in Pittsburgh. You have a 300-pound tight end that can run like a half a wide receiver. Total Washington. It's a crazy weapon to have. Man. All right, talk about the lines. Defensively, they're going to press. They're going to play a lot of man. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for you as a receiver in the offense trying to defeat what they're good at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotta be ready. Gotta be ready to set that tone. Understand that they're gonna be at home and they're gonna want to set that tone. They're a physical group, physical defense, whole physical team just in general. We've had some joint practices against them in the past, so we know what to expect, and we're gonna be ready. To come ready for that challenge. So we know what to expect.
Is that like extra work on releases and stuff like that to make sure the timing stays right?
Yeah, releases, handwork. I think that's always a focal point in the NFL as a receiver, but especially when you play teams like this, you got to be ready for that.
And contested catches too, right? Because they aren't going to give you a lot of space. There's no sitting down and empty spaces in the zone. Like when you catch the ball, there's going to be a guy there probably chopping at your arms as soon as you try to catch it, right?
Yeah, exactly. They do a real good job of ball searching and trying to sit there and punch the ball out at all times. And I was able to experience that at both the teams I was at, San Francisco and Pittsburgh. They're real good at literally emphasizing that all the time at practice and games or whatever, of just punching at that ball nonstop. So, I think I've been prepped for it. So,
dude, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Isaiah Hodgins, Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.